Welcome back to DFS Bros. Today we're going to be talking about our wide receivers 1 through 6 per standard scoring. First off, we have Michael Thomas.
All right, so Michael Thomas, not much to say except he was absolute beast last year. Broke the reception record, had 149 receptions, 1,700 yards, 9 touchdowns, had a catch rate of 96%, which is just unreal. He has missed 0 games in his 4-year career. First in receptions last year, targets, red zone receptions, fantasy points, yards, you name it, he did it. He had 10 games where he had over 100 yards. And I actually think that he's probably going to be a little bit better for us, the touchdown category, only scoring 9 last year, though the yardage and receptions will probably come down. Typically, whenever a receiver had that many receptions, you see a huge drop-off the following year, like Marvin Harrison. He went from breaking the record to less than 100. I do not see that being the case this year with Michael Thomas whatsoever. The offense runs through him. It's not just all deep passes. Drew Brees is a lot older now, so they have designed plays for him, and they're going to continue to do those slants, screens, gadget plays.
Yeah, the argument for Michael Thomas being number 1 is the same that it was in 2017 and 2018 with both him and Alvin Kamara. The offense runs through those 2 players. They did get Drew Brees some help with wide receiver, so he doesn't have to rely on Michael Thomas as much with Emmanuel Sanders. Ted Ginn is gone, so I think he's just going to go into a slot role. And then Traquan Smith is going to take over the Ted Ginn burner role. I think this offense is set up for success with Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas again. And at number 2, we have Davante Adams. And Kirk will go ahead with that one as well.
All right, so Davante Adams, he's missed games 3 straight years, missed 10 games over his 6-year career. Last year missed 4 games, year before 1, year before that 2, though he's an absolute beast. He scored 10-plus touchdowns in the last 3 years, except for last year. Only scored 5 last year, so you know the touchdowns are going to come back. Project him easily at 10 this year. He has the best. All right, he's the best. He's the best route runner in the league. He has a target share there. He has over 30% of Aaron Rodgers' completions. He leads the league in red zone targets. A few years ago, last year, he was 3rd with 16 red zone targets. There's just not much in Green Bay except for Jones and Adams. They got rid of Allison. He was completely awful. We got Funches. He's awful. We don't really throw to the tight end any. Lazard is an up-and-coming guy. I just don't see the talent being there. And Rodgers is going to give Adams as much as he can handle.
Yeah, I agree. Davante Adams, he's a lock for number 2. There's no one else to catch the ball from Aaron Rodgers besides Aaron Jones, and it's the market share is going to be tremendously high for Davante Adams. As Kirk said, his touchdown totals will go up this year. It will probably reach double digits. He will get over 1,000 yards again. He will get almost 100 receptions, if not more. He will have a fantastic fantasy year, fantastic real-life season. Davante Adams is great for the number 2 spot. Number 3, we have Julio Jones. There's not much to say about Julio Jones, but Kirk is going to take that away.
All right, so Julio Jones, ultra consistent. Finished last year as a wide receiver number 3, 2018 wide receiver 5, 17, 5, 16, 6, 15, second. So anytime you draft him, you're looking at a top 5 wide receiver and just locks you in ultra safe. That offense throws the ball so much. They got rid of Freeman, brought in Gurley. Gurley looks like a shell of himself. So you don't have to think that he's going to take too much workload, too many touchdowns. But as far as the yardage, Julio's always a top guy. There's always an injury concern with him, although he does play through a lot of his injuries. Atlanta throws the ball more than anyone else in the league with 46 per game. Last year, second in targets, second in deep targets, second in yards. You're just getting a great receiver. You pretty much know what you're going to get out of Julio. I look at a lot of playoff matchups. So in your fantasy playoffs, he is going to face the Chargers defense, which was 29th last year. They have some great corners, got a great rush with their defensive line. But then the next week, they're playing the Bucs, which was the absolute worst secondary we've ever seen. Then he's going to play the Chiefs. Should be a shootout, but the Chiefs somehow last year was the 31st best. 31st against wide receivers. So somehow it was mainly they kept the yardage down, but it's just not that good of a matchup as far as your fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. Julio Jones, if there's anyone in the NFL that I would call Mr. Consistent, it would be Julio Jones. He's proved year in, year out since his rookie season that he is an elite receiver. He controls the field. He's broken 300 yards in a game. He's just an amazing receiver. A lot of people are talking about Calvin Ridley's breakout year. They took away Austin Hooper. They took away Devonta Freeman. Hayden Hurst is coming in. Todd Gurley's coming in. I think the offense is going to be about the same as it was last year. I think their record as a team will be better, but I think the yards, attempts, et cetera, is going to be basically copy and paste from last year to this year. I think Julio Jones is going to be an amazing receiver. So next up, we have Tyreek Hill. I got a little bit confused before Kirk and I started recording. For some reason, I thought we had Tyreek Hill and Kenny Golladay flip-flopped in our ranking, so I went through and did some research on both of them to try to argue why I had Kenny Golladay higher. I then ended up looking at my rankings and I realized, oh, crap, I have Tyreek Hill higher. So basically –
So Nick's going to debate with himself today.
Yeah. So basically Tyreek Hill, he's a fantastic receiver. He's going into a contract year. He's trying to prove that he is the best receiver in the NFL. He wants to be paid like the best receiver in the NFL. Doing my research, I saw that he gets about 22% of the targets from Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes throws the ball about 35 times per game, which equals about 7 targets per game, which is a very healthy target share for a number one receiver. He had 31% of the receiving touchdowns for the Kansas City Chiefs last year. There was no one close to him. The next person closest to him was about 20%, and that wasn't even Travis Kelce. It was Mecole Hardman. They had several players in the 10% for touchdown receptions for their team, but he's the only one that got above 20. I think he is safe. I know there's been concerns about everything with his domestic violence cases and potentially being suspended. I think that might be behind him now. I think that will be cleared up. I think he is a tremendous talent for fantasy football, and I think he will succeed in this offense this year as he's been doing so the last 2.5 years in the NFL. Anything on Tyreek?
Like you said, he's in a contract year. He wants to prove himself in a perfect offense. Got a great head coach, quarterback, best in the league.
Mm-hmm.
He's an explosive player. He can literally win you weeks by himself. Look at last year, like Sammy Watkins when Hill was out. Just that insane week, dropping 30-some fantasy points. You're going to see that out of Hill. The thing that hurts him most is his consistency. There's weeks where he only has 70 yards, and then the following week he has 2 touchdowns and 150 yards.
Yeah.
So just being able to build a team around him, you're going to want some consistency and have him be that week winner for you.
Mm-hmm.
Digging into his playoffs, week 14, they play the Dolphins. They had the second worst secondary in the league, so that should be great. I look at the Chiefs and Mahomes by that time wanting to prove himself, maybe trying to get to that 50 touchdowns again or upper 40s. So just really laying it on the Dolphins. After that, it's going to be a shootout in New Orleans, week 15. And then they go to Atlanta, play the Falcons, week 15. Should be a great matchup. You get to see him versus Julio. So a shootout there. So I see him being a week winner for you, hopefully have some consistency, and then possibly being a league winner for you in the playoffs.
Yeah, week 15, like you said, with Atlanta, Kansas City could be trying to lock up the number 1 seed or a bye that week. So I do imagine that they will be gunning it out to win that game that week. Yeah, like Kirk said, Tyreek Hill is going to be amazing this year. Patrick Mahomes just got that 10-year, $503 million extension. Then the next on the Kansas City Chiefs list is Chris Jones, then Tyreek Hill. I think he will be in a contract from them soon, and I think he's going to prove why he deserves it this year. Number 5, we have Kenny Golladay. Kenny Golladay, last year, he was on fire last year before Matthew Stafford got hurt. Before Matt Stafford got hurt, he was the wide receiver 7 on the season, averaging 15 points per game per PPR scoring. And then after Matthew Stafford left, he was the wide receiver 19 in the second half of the year. I think Matthew Stafford is going to come back. He's going to light the league up. The first 8 games of last year, he was dominating the NFL. He was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, not just from a fantasy perspective, but from a real-life, raw football player perspective. I think Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones are both going to flourish this year. Another team where I think they have 2 players in the top 20 in their respective positions. Kenny Golladay is a monster. He averages 8 targets per game. He has 40% of Matthew Stafford's touchdowns last year. He's a big body that gets in the red zone a lot. TJ Hawkinson may possibly break into that a little bit with his second year. I think Kenny Golladay is safe at number 5, but you could probably get him in the 3rd, late 2nd, early 3rd round. So a lot of guys from our 6 to 12 range, you could draft them in the first, or not first round, in the 2nd round, but then come around in the 3rd round and get Kenny Golladay and get 2 top 12 wide receivers. Kirk, do you have anything on Kenny Golladay?
Yeah, so last year he was one of only 3 receivers or tight ends that finished with 10-plus touchdowns. He finished at 6th with Stafford and David Blau. So he really didn't have anyone throwing him the ball once Stafford went out. He had 8 games with Stafford. 4 of those he had over 100 yards receiving. 6 of those he had a touchdown. So he's very consistent with Stafford. Golladay does a lot better when Marvin Jones plays. So having both of them healthy really helps out. And then he was number 1 in deep targets last year, 6th in yards. He has a 22% market share. He had 25 red zone targets, unheard of. And he catches a lot of deep balls. It's just he's a huge part of that offense. Stafford, ever since he came to the league, has just been chucking the ball. Drew Brees-esque. Except you're just not going to pay that Drew Brees price with him every year. But Detroit has an awful defense, so they're always going to be behind. They're always going to have to look to throw the ball, and that's their number 1 guy on the field, he played 94% of snaps. They strengthened the offensive line in the draft and in free agency to give Stafford a little bit more times to let those deep balls develop. So I'm looking for a big year out of Golladay.
Yeah, I am as well. I think Matthew Stafford finally has a receiver that he can rely on again, like he had with Megatron. He had Marvin Jones and Golden Tate, but neither one of them are that big body receiver that Calvin Johnson was when he was there. Kenny Golladay comes in. He has a very similar body type to Calvin Johnson. I'm not saying he's as good as Calvin Johnson, but similar body type, similar skill set. I think he could have a top 5 fantasy finish this year. Because of that, I love Kenny Golladay. They also still do not have a run game. Kerryon Johnson, everyone thought he was going to be good. They thought he was going to be the Detroit Lions' savior when it came to running the ball. He was their first 100-yard rusher in a game in like 4 seasons since Reggie Bush did it, I think, 2015. He got hurt last year. They drafted Swift. It's going to be a revolving door between Kerryon and DeAndre Swift with their running back. They're going to have to rely on Golladay, Marvin Jones, and Hockenson to get this offense done, even Danny Amendola. All 4 of them are – I mean, not all 4 of them. Danny Amendola is not going to do, like, fantastic, but they're going to have to rely on all 4 of them to push this offense down the field because they're going to have a revolving door at the running back position. So next up, we have DeAndre Hopkins from the Arizona Cardinals. He is a fantastic receiver. To me, the best wide receiver in the NFL. Best hands, best route running. Obviously not the fastest guy. Every single ball to DeAndre Hopkins is a 50-50 ball. It's more like 80-20 for him. He was going to come down with the ball more times than not. 2018 had 0 drops. Last year he had a lot of drops, but that's because Deshaun Watson wasn't able to throw it to him as well as he did in 2018 because their offensive line had major problems. I think going into the Arizona Cardinals offense as his first year there, he's going to succeed. They will still have to respect Christian Kirk and even Larry Fitzgerald. They'll have to respect Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds. They have too many weapons for opposing defenses just to focus on DeAndre Hopkins. And when they are focused on DeAndre Hopkins, look for the big weeks for Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald, possibly. DeAndre Hopkins is going to flourish in this offense. I know there's a lot of analysts that are coming down on him this year. He's still fairly young. I don't think he's hit 30 yet. I don't think he's hit the true prime for a wide receiver yet. I think he is going to have another amazing year and be another top 6 fantasy finish on the season. And that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be – he's just going to blow it out of the water.
So I can sit here and tell you all the stats, how many yards he had, how many touchdowns he had, but it's a whole different atmosphere going from Houston with no options. Not saying Fuller's not an option, but Fuller's never there. And switching over to the Arizona, where they have Fitzgerald, ultra consistent. They have Drake, who's going to steal a lot of touchdowns this year in the rushing game. You look at who they have in Houston, it's really just Watson, Hopkins, and Fuller. So it's going to be a huge difference. Just looking at the player himself, elite talent. Played in 100% of snaps last year. Had 31% of the target share in Houston. Great hands. Over the last 3 years, he's been the wide receiver 1, 2, and 5. So that's the type of talent you're going to get. They do have Christian Kirk, Fitzgerald, Drake, and we're also hearing they're shopping for a tight end, possibly Njoku. So there are other options there. So they're not going to have to rely on him solely. But you're drafting a great name, guy who's dependable, going to be there, and have a lot of fantasy value throughout the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything you said about DeAndre Hopkins. He's done it with Case Keenum. He did it with Ryan Fitzpatrick. The only quarterback that's made DeAndre Hopkins look bad was Brock Osweiler. But with that being said, Kyler Murray he's another fantastic quarterback that he's going to have. He's very lucky to go from Deshaun Watson to Kyler Murray. The last 2 seasons, he's having 2 fantastic quarterbacks, the 2 quarterbacks that are the best he's ever had in his career. I think because defenses have to respect, like I said, Christian Kirk, Larry Fitzgerald, a tight end that they could possibly trade for, Kenyon Drake, that he's going to flourish because he'll be open more. And when he's not open more, they're going to burn you with the other guys. It's just the Arizona Cardinals offense is going to be fantastic this year. That's why we both have DeAndre Hopkins and Kenyon Drake in the top 10 for their respective positions. Kirk, do you have anything else to say about our top 6 receivers before we end this video?
They're all elite options. I just still think I'm not going to get to any of them in my drafts this year. They're going to be something that I try to maybe trade for throughout the year. Maybe trade some of my depth for elite talents. But I'm definitely using those first few picks on running backs. All of these guys will be gone by the 2nd round. Golladay can be a 3rd round pick. Excellent 3rd round pick. But yeah, you're going to get consistent weapons here.
Yeah, I think if you do want one of these guys, the right draft strategy would probably be in the middle of the 1st round, maybe like 6 or 7 pick, get an elite running back, then grab one of these guys on the way back. I think you possibly could get our number 5 receiver. Well, Kirk's number 6, my number 5 receiver, and Kenny Golladay. If you were to get one of the first 3 picks, get either Christian McCaffrey, Zeke, or Saquon with your first 3, come back around and possibly grab another running back we have fairly high, maybe Todd Gurley, maybe Clyde, and then in your 3rd round, get Golladay with an early 3rd round pick, and you will be set up for greatness this season by having 2 top 15 running backs and a top 5, top 6 fantasy receiver. But with that being said, thank you for checking out our top 6 receivers. We will be back soon with our wide receivers 7 through 12. We will be coming back as well with our breakouts, our sleepers, our busts. We will have a handcuff episode, mock drafts, any other. What was that?
Kirk's
kickers. He'll do a few of those. We have a lot of things planned. Thank you for checking us out. Make sure you leave a like and a subscribe. Tell us your top 6 wide receivers in the comments, and hope you all have a good day.